Yo, yo, what's going on? What's going on? How's everybody doing? How was your weekend? Kind of a shorter week for me last week with Traders for a Cause, so going into it next week, first full week back at it. Just gonna finish running some scans and then I'll let a few of you guys filter in and then I'll check in with you and see what's up. I was just finishing running some of my FinViz stuff, so catch up on what I'm missing. What's up, El Jefe? What's going on? Piton just hit scan. A little break of 520s, pull back, retest, and re-break out. It's pretty good constructive action. How you doing, El Jefe? Trading them well. Have a good weekend. Detach a bit, hopefully. Light bridge. This thing's lighting up. Sure, everybody saw Drug from Friday. That was a monster call on the Investors Underground broadcast on Friday. I had hopped on there because my watch list the night before, I was looking at dips versus 21, and by the time pre-market's around 7 a.m., this thing's already up in the 23s, 24s. 7:20, it's up in the 30s. By market open, this thing's up near 40. So that dips versus 21 idea, just kicking it, doing some scans. Good to hear. Getting prepped for tomorrow. But yeah, so the dips versus 21 idea from the Thursday night going into Friday for my watch list was kind of out the window because now I'm kind of having to adapt and change that plan where I'm looking for a 38 break. I was looking for a break and build over 35s and 38 to confirm. So now that it was opening up right near those levels, I had to adapt. So I was basically playing that 38 breakout, just buying right through it was basically the plan. And then risk low days and let the trade work. Closed super weak. So no real plans on that now. Ideally, it would have closed strong, get a gap up, parabolic, and then get a similar trade to over here for the pullback, but it didn't happen. Traded JD, ZG, and VTAC. Let's see what's up. Daily chart, breakout through the 170s. Looks like a China pump or something. That's ugly. Gap up. Day 2 gapper. Blow off in pre-market, and you get some nice failed fall through lower highs. And then into after hours, nice pullback there. I do see the merit to this. You get that day 1 breakout through the 170s, and then a gap up and exhaustion, and you're basically looking to short that the next day. You're competing with short sellers that are shorting the gappers. You're competing with longs that are locking in profits from the day 1. And then if this thing has any overhead supply or dilution or something like that, like company shares in the background, so you've got 3 or 4 sellers on your side that give the odds in your favor. So nice trade there. I do agree with that setup. And VTAC day 1 was up after hours in the first day, but still kind of a day 1 in terms of market open. And same kind of thing, as long as you withstand that opening morning action, wait for that failed fall through, all pops, nice quiet fader. But it seems like the common theme, if you can just withstand that open chop after market open, turns out pretty well on those gappers. So nice job there, El Jefe. Good work, good work. Good work. The open chop is the toughest for sure. Yes. That was where I was taking losses when I was trying to figure out some sort of a discretionary system for those day ones. Because I trade the open mostly. Like, I'm usually gone off desk by about 11 a.m. So most of my money is made off the open. So I was looking for opening edge, and what I found was basically you had to survive the first hour, and then usually closes near the lows when they work, when they're all day faders. So setup just didn't really work for me. Maybe if I'm on desk more, maybe if I ever decide to go full time, then it might be something I look into. But for now, it doesn't really work with my schedule or my temperament, for that matter. Alrighty, that's the end of those scans. Let me pull up Nokia. What the hell is this thing? Why is Nokia running? That's ridiculous. So let me just pull up a few things on my end. Okay. I'm just going to check out Nate's scan here before I start talking about my plans. I feel that I leave desk after first hour too. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. So it's we're in the same kind of boat there, especially with that gapper setup. So it is what it is. Let me just read Nate's stuff here quick, and then I will hop into some names that I have on watch. Bivy is gapping up after hours, so that'll be that day 2 kind of thing. Same kind of setup that we just looked at on JDZG. Where you get this, if you get any day 1 longs, and then you get a big enough gap up, now you've got a few layers of sellers on your side, whether they're shorts, whether they're longs, whether they're natural sellers, whether they're paper, but you get this kind of wave into that next day. So if this thing gaps up enough, you get possible same setup as JDZG that El Jefe and I just chit-chatted about. But same kind of thing. If you get something like this, look for some opening action to get short. And this one, technically, like, it hasn't had a red day yet. It's still closed up above prior close. So technically, if this thing you get pops towards 2, I'd be interested in this for a first red day short and fade back to the 140s. I think JDZG still has some juice in it for lower. So we'll see where that one's at. LTBR, this daily's starting to extend, but it like pushes, red day, push, red day, push. So tomorrow should be a red day, but ideally I want to see this thing go $10 plus and then let me trade a red day. Like if it were to do 1, 2, 3 days, get that pullback. So ideally this one goes higher, but I don't really want to trade that tomorrow, especially seeing as it just came off the mid 5s. It's only up to 7. So good evening, Tina. How's it going? Timmy Trades, hey, do you know top simps for drug? On the first run up, it was NIVF. Feels like that's not true anymore. Yeah, ATNF went with it on Friday. They weren't as clear cut. Like I remember when I did that scan after drug had went and how I was looking for those simps, and it wasn't as clear cut as it typically is. When you get like that multi-1,000% runner, usually it's fairly obvious and they start to move kind of in tandem with each other. And with drug, it just didn't happen. But ATNF, I think, was the most obvious one on Friday. You had, let me see, you had Brea was a recent one. You had, I think VS and ATNF were the top two. And then you had Stack that went that has nothing to do with it, but it was just moving off the back of its momentum. VSME was going at the same time. You had MTEM was going with it. What else? Was Staff? Kinda. It was basically just like a flurry of a bunch of gappers that came off the back of it, but they were all like 1 day and nothing. Like it wasn't like multi-day sustained momentum. So I just rattled off a bunch there, but those were like recent runners that wouldn't have moved, especially as much as they did if drug didn't go. But it wasn't like as clear cut as the sympathies typically are, where you get biotech, similar price range, similar company name, all that kind of stuff. It didn't happen like it typically does. El Jefe, Oklo. Yeah, Oklo was a nuclear name. I had traded it on this day, on that first red day. But now that it's rebroken out of like the 17 area, going from 17 to 20 just isn't extended enough for me. I see that as kind of a chart reset. So I'd need this to do like another 3 or 4 day move before I got interested in that one. TVGN, that was that breakout watch I had through the 140s, but it gapped up right into it and over it, so I ended up not playing it. It worked out okay, going up to the mid 2s, round tripped all the way back, and now still holding up. This was another one where I see this as a drug sympathy. I don't think this one keeps going unless drug had gone, so I don't really see an opportunity in this for me. That breakout through the 140s is what I was looking for, and now the breakout's come and gone. It hasn't pulled back enough for a first green day, and it's not extended enough for an overextended pullback trade. So no real plans on that one for me. What else do we got? LEU? What's this name? Centrus Energy. That daily's going nuts. 60 to 100. Green day. So hasn't broken prior day's close. Did close weak. Held up. Volume hasn't increased, but higher priced runner. What is this, all-time highs? Has a history of some parabolic dailies. You zoom out to the weekly. The week looks pretty extended. So ideally this thing keeps going. I can look for a pullback, but I'll just be kind of staying familiar with it. No real plans as of yet, but ideally higher the better. GRI, this one popped on scan because it's kind of like a bottom bouncer through this mid 50s. I think it's got room to run with overhead resistance pretty far away, but after hours is already up quite a bit into the 80s. So nothing I'm going to chase, but just noting that daily there coming off the lows. NUZE, this one's not going away. It does have that little liquidity trap type look where prior day's VWAP in the 140s and it's consolidating over it. Most of the volume profile is below Friday's price. So there could be support, but given how far it ran and the action in which it ran, I'd prefer a bit more consolidation, maybe a push and a consolidation level up closer to the highs, not having it run up so far into it where I'd expect that to fail. If it could start to kind of grind and then go sideways, I'd much prefer that. But I will keep it on watch. Possible liquidity trap starting to set up. Damn, Gevo, that thing reclaimed its gap, fade off the gap, and right back to highs. Such a hard one to hold on a swing, though. Like, you couldn't even risk prior bars lows. It broke there. It broke there. That was what my stop was. That's why I got stopped out. When I bought it here, I was still in it. And then I risked prior bar lows. It stopped me out and then kept going. But I just don't see a way where I could have been involved in that thing to $3, unfortunately. Oh, jeez. Nobody needs to get a hold of me right now. Had to sell GRI at 69. Did it for the meme. The memes. GRI. What am I missing? What am I missing here? Did it for the memes. GRI? Oh, 69. Okay, I'm thinking like the ticker. I'm like, GRI. Okay, 69. I feel you. Held your position into the best position? Is that what happened? Okay, good enough. Okay, let me go back here. So DJT still holding up, consolidating up near its highs, kind of starting to flag here. If this were to build or break below 28s, I think this would have a nice pullback in it. But I'm looking for more of the breakout trade given the fundamental hit it and quit it. I'm looking for more of the fundamental thesis with the run up into the election. So ideally this breaks and starts to build higher would be more of like a daily chart watch. So if this can build above 31, 32, I'd like it higher. Fun. I did take a loss on this one Friday. I was looking for that 750 break. And if you look intraday, it was fairly constructive action where you get this weak open, push, a lot of wicks off of VWAP, this flagging action, a strong push through it and off of it. So I was in it in the 17s, I think, 720, 718, somewhere around there. I bought this high day break with a little bit of slippage is what happened. So, and then I was just risking low a day, so I got stopped out once it cracked right here. But it's still holding up. If you look at something like this, higher lows. So instead of that 750 break that I was looking for, I guess it's more of like a 760 break leading to that $8. So as long as DJT is in trend, I think this one remains in trend. I don't hate this other red day as another rest day and possible 760 break still down the line. So I will keep an eye on DJT and Fun. Drug, that was the play I was looking for, the 38 breakout, so it's come and went, so no real plans on that one for me. PRQR, this daily, what was that? TR. What was the news on that first day? Let me look on 16th. What was it up for? I can't remember. Let me see here. Just trying to find it. I thought there was news on this thing. Okay, the 16th, price target raised by $4. So it was a price target increase, was the news on that day. I thought there was something else, but I could be wrong. Anyways, you get a big move. Straight up morning spike off the open, holds gains pretty well into the close. Next day, weak open, red to green, and then puts in another weak day, but still consolidating the upper end of the daily range. So if this thing starts to build above 450s and volume starts to come back in, this could see higher, but it's not really extended given that each week open keeps getting absorbed. So I would be more long bias on this because I see it more as like a stair stepper. It's not really extended, so to speak. So something like that. So ideally dips versus 4, get absorbed, and then look for that 450 break. VSME, this looks very identical to drug right here, where you get that big front side, red day, pull back and sideways. And if you look at VSME, you get that big front side, pull back, and then another sideways day. So I'd be looking for weak opens versus 180 as a guide, holding prior day's lows, held twice, and a sideways day showing that there's a bit of a bidder in there. Volume profile is down at these prices, so there's not a whole lot of overhead. The daily is not as extended as the intradaily looks. So I do think that this could push back and retest the highs up in the 350. I don't think that's out of the question. But we'll see how this thing opens. If it's below 180s, I don't want to touch it. But ideally, a weak open, 180 hold, and then join the opening range high day breaks would be on watch. News, I touched on this one briefly, but it pushed, pulled back, now waiting for it to choose a direction. Breakout up on this one, daily highs up in the 340s. So it's pretty far off the highs and hasn't pulled back enough for me to look for a first green day. So this one's kind of mid-range for me. Possible liquidity trap starting to set up, but nothing I'm in love with given how far it is off the highs. If it was consolidating up here in the upper twos, I'd be a bit more intrigued. And then some percent gainers from Friday, going from 1s to 10s. Massive move. And then breaking down back below 5s. So no real plans on this one, but if you can get a straight up spike back up into 8s, then possible retrace of that parabolic. Bivy, touched on this one, same kind of thing as, what was that ticker? JDZG, I believe, that we touched on at the beginning of the live, where you get that day 2 gap up and you get a bunch of sellers on your side. So possible short trade on a big enough day 2 gap for a repeat of exactly what happened over here. JDZG hasn't gone red yet in 2 days, has a history of decent pullbacks. So if I can get a pop towards 2, red to green holds, and then a pullback back to the mid 1s. So that's about it for me. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap it up? Let me know. Why only short side thesis on those? Which ones are you referring to here? Nuclear names? Nuclear names. So something like Oklo. This, why I'm more short side on this is this breakout had overhead resistance a bit too close. Overhead through the 16s, and then 18 halves was right there overhead with some decent volume. So I didn't want to be playing that breakout. If this were to now consolidate up here for like 2 or 3 days before breaking out a 20, I'd love to get long this. But there just hasn't been enough consolidation or level in my mind for me to trust risk-wise. So it's not that I wouldn't go long them or I'm only short-sided on them. It's just that that's all that I see this presenting itself. On this day here, on that first red day, I did go long. I showed my chart on that day right here because it was a straight down pull, and I got long that morning panic because it was a pullback into a strong daily chart into rising support right here looking left. So if I were to get another pullback on this thing with a straight down move down sub 16, I'd love to get long that just for a scalp trade. But for more of a bigger picture trade, which is what I'm looking for on the short side, I'd need to see this consolidate in its upper end of its daily range for a few days to get some sort of big picture risk level that I could trust without having to worry about getting shaken out and seeing the move still work. So it's just too extended and hasn't had enough consolidation for me to long is the only reason that I'm looking at that. I think what was the other one, SMR. You get these top wicks, daily goes straight up, and then it meets a seller right here. Every push through 1950s gets met with a seller and gets slammed on. So it's not really constructive moves in my opinion for me to want to long them. Favorite long setup, I struggle with going long. Feels like a sector move is starting. Yup. Okay, cool. Thank you. What's your take on bounce plays? Okay, a couple questions in there. And an E as well. Let me see. Yeah. See, that's the same thing as this one's got some nice consolidation, but why I didn't buy this 20 break is because of all this overhead resistance. Where like basically this is where I see Oklo right now is in something like this where it just hasn't consolidated. So I'm thinking we're going to get something like this eventually. And then if it were to consolidate and start to build back over some looking left levels, then I'd look to get long. But I think Oklo is in this kind of stage where eventually you get a decent pullback trade until it wants to consolidate and choose its direction. But now that it's consolidated, trying to choose its direction, it's got too much overhead resistance. So I think that covers it. Favorite setup long is multi-day breakouts. What was a recent one? I believe EVGO, right through here. I had played this one, and then you get this 760s looking left, and a nice break over here. We haven't had any really good small cap ones. My like A plus that turned me profitable was that backside bounce first green days, something like ATNF. I don't trade these one day failed. This one was kind of an exception because it was off the back of drug. So it pushed back right up into looking left support that now became resistance. But when you get these big multi-day runners on the front side, pull back for a couple days, that backside bounce is A+++ for me. There's criteria that I like to see met. I've touched on a few of them in past live streams. But those backside bounces, I love them. The risk reward on them is so tight. I can get 5-10 to 1 risk reward on these, and there's always I've got like defined risk and defined reward because like you can see this volume profile and this support level. So anywhere in this 8 to 9 range is good locking points, and that's exactly where it comes into. So I like that I can risk versus lows and have a profit target to sell into looking left. So it's like I'm playing within a channel and it's super well defined. So I love those backside bounces. And then probably my second favorite is the listed like multi-day breakouts. But they all stem from the daily chart first. If that makes sense. Otherwise, touch on a couple questions and I can try and think of some examples or pull up some recent trades in my spreadsheet. What's your take on bounce plays? Oh, I just touched on that briefly. Bounce plays in terms of front side strong daily charts where something's just gone on a recent run. But if you've got something like, what was that, ALPP, just got delisted. I can't pull up the daily. It just got delisted on Friday. What else? Like LX, where you get this big front side move, pull back, and you get that bounce. Like it's still on the front side until you get that lower high, and it holds below the prior daily highs. So that first parabolic pullback, this is still like a front side bounce trade, big picture wise. Yes, I call it like a backside bounce because I think the parabolic, like the squeeze, has squoze, and I'm looking to take advantage of that little bit of range. But in terms of like if you were to try to bounce like something like DJT, for example, like I'm not trading like a bounce trade anywhere down here. Like this is a top left to bottom right chart. So bounce plays in terms of that, I don't, like some people I guess would have an edge playing them. I haven't found a profitable way to trade them, trying to pick bottoms. But once you get like this move and then you start getting pullbacks, now you're getting dips into rising support and there's a lot more of an underlying bid starting to prop it up. It's a much more, I think, positive EV trade. Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm going to look more into those. Sound good. But yeah, like VSME is like a bounce trade that I'm looking at where you get this big front side move. And yes, it's kind of backside, like it's had its push pull. But now if I get weak opens that start to stabilize, there's nothing saying that this can't re-break out of 360s. I don't think it will right away if it ever does. But that's not the plan in my mind. I just see it as a dip along rising support on a strong recent daily chart. And possible, 50 cents to $1 to take advantage of. Lace was a nice first. Yeah, I think I traded that one. Might be talking about this day. I think I traded it on this day, I believe, end of September. I'd have to look back. I didn't play it on this day because this was on the back of some bad news. I do know a few guys that were trading them, but I don't like negative news. It's just more selling pressure on pops, in my opinion. And when I'm already selling back into bag holders, I want as few sellers on the way there as possible. So if there's an offering or bad news that helps drive it down, I typically don't try to trade that bounce trade. But when you get this parabolic pullback, this is now dips into rising support. And then once you get this lower high, confirm, now this is all backside. So this is still front side. It could have rebroke out, but this was it choosing its direction, and then it chose lower. But I think there's edge in this for that little bounce opportunity. I remember trading Mull N like a little while ago over here. For some reason, this one sticks out in my head. Front side move, multi-day pullback, big bounce. And then this is one where this is dips into rising support. And then this first green day ended up turning into that next leg, you see? So this lower high, it either needed to break down below this prior low or break above this prior high, and it ended up choosing its prior high. It got stuffed, however, but that was it choosing its direction right here. I think that makes sense. That's how I think about it. I think it makes sense. These ones, VS attempted to bounce. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Sounds good. This one tried to bounce with drug. Did MTEM. Not really. News still hanging around. Staff didn't really. Yeah, these things are they're so choppy. Everything's been like pop and drop in that sector. It's just, I like sustained multi-day momentum. That's where I like to throw size in and actually trade them, like for real. Not like bouncing around ticker to ticker, get a 200% gap by 7 a.m. and then try to find a top after market open and hope it goes down by market close. Like, no thanks. Give me something that goes from 1 to 2 on day 1, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 4 to 8, something like that, and get like a nice multi-day run, multi-day pullback. Let me trade that overextension. Let me buy that backside bounce. Like, give me some daily structure, man. What's a boy got to do to get some daily structure around here? Alrighty, well, I think that's about it. We're coming after 8 p.m. my time, 11 p.m. Eastern. I think we've been on for a little while. Thank you for your time. No problem. I love to do it. Like I say, it's a review I'm doing anyways, and it helps me when I can verbalize it and explain it. So it's no problem at all. I love doing it. I appreciate your guys' appreciation. But yeah, I'll share some updated plans over in the Investors Underground chat room in the morning. If they need any help, I hop on broadcast whenever, but I usually share my plans in the lounge in the morning, and then some live commentary and trades that I'm taking in the momentum room. So thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate the chit chat back and forth. And I'm glad you guys are taking away some positives from this. It makes me happy to hear. So get in where you fit in, make some memories, and I'll see you guys in the room tomorrow. Take it easy.